We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
It's Monday. Just dance. You're listening to that snapping going on in the background is my guest because she is born to dance. I was born to talk. That's the name of my show. Isn't that ironic how that works? Welcome to the show, everybody. It's Monday. I love Mondays. It starts with music. It continues with music. I'm Marsha Wietecha. I'm your host. I'm excited to have my guest here today. I'm not going to yammer on right now because I want to move over to my guest. And Sheri Weitz is my guest today. So, Sheri, welcome to the show, girl.
Thanks, Marsha.
It's really nice to have you here. You know, I know fans, right? I can remember a gazillion years ago when I was working at the Y, and you were coming through the Y, and I think were you teaching aerobics at one point?
I was, and especially at the Family Fun Day.
Right,
I was
the
on
family,
stage
exactly. You have Family Fun Day. And little did I know when I was doing the YMCA work, advocacy, working in the neighborhood, this is the community I grew up in, blah, 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 that someday I would have you on my show. But we would meet for sure every January, you, your husband, Robin, sometimes the boys, and me. We would go to Irene and John Sharp's house because he's a mutual friend through the Indian guides and all of that stuff.
Soup
night every Sunday at John and Irene's. And this last January, you and I were sitting there talking, and it was like, come on now, you know what? I'm coming up on my 2-year anniversary. You have so much energy. You have so much to teach and inspire and inform. You need to be on my show. And it was like, okay. And we're like, okay. So that's how that started. So I'm really, really excited to have you here as a neighbor of my Westchester neighbor. And I thought you could just spend some time now. We were going to be talking a lot about wellness and nutrition, your cancer survivor story. That's the focus of our show today. But I thought it'd be really great for you just to tell the people that are listening. Thank you out there, listeners. Something about yourself. So what's your background? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Background, I grew up in the Valley, for sure. My husband,
I really like knowing
like,
that.
oh my God, like for sure. Like I used to go to the mall, the Galleria. But I've survived that. I now live on the West Side, so I'm cool now. No offense to Valley people. My whole family lives in the Valley, except for me.
Okay.
And I've always been a bit of an ADHD. My mom had to give me tranquilizers, so I always had a lot of energy. And now I'm finally channeling it into positive things. So the Dance It Out has been a great outlet for my nervous energy, stabilizes my mood, and it's helped me survive cancer, which we'll be talking about.
Certainly.
I have 2 sons.
Okay.
I have a husband. We're coming up on our 25th wedding anniversary.
Oh, how nice.
Which is crazy. So
it is.
Robin. Hey, Robin. And obviously, I've always wanted to help people. So I was a journalism major for about a year.
All right.
And then I switched majors because I realized I wanted to help other people I was interviewing. I didn't necessarily want to write about them. I wanted to directly help them. And I was always interested in natural health, and my sister was one of the original health food nuts. And so I just, one thing led to the other. I found I was really good at science. I got really good grades in chemistry, believe it or not.
Now we're talking high school, and then...
I started out as a major in college as a psychology and then journalism major.
Got it. And where did you go to school?
I went to Cal State Northridge.
Okay. All right.
University of Northridge.
All right.
And it was actually good because we had small class sizes. Was going to go to Berkeley, but just didn't know where I would live and was a little overwhelmed. So Northridge was
in the Valley. It worked.
It was a good bite. Yeah. So I took that one.
All right. And so you studied journalism, but you realized at that point it's like, journalism is great. Everybody could really benefit by being a good writer and being a good speaker. But it sounds like what you are more interested in is, I want to be on the other side of that conversation. I want to be the helper. So is that when you decided that nutrition was much more... Were you interested in nutrition as a kid?
I always wanted to be a nurse,
Oh,
actually.
interesting.
So I guess my son always says, Mom, you're a healer, which is very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
My Andrew, my 22-year-old who's about to graduate college.
Oh, how nice.
But I guess I don't want, that sounds a little braggadocious to
No,
me.
no,
but
no.
in my essence, I'm a healer. So no matter
Okay.
what I do, I want to heal. And writing about things doesn't feel direct enough to
Sure.
me.
Uh-huh.
So my intention today is to help heal with my words. So
Mm-hmm.
anything I can give to people that will educate them in a way that inspires and gives knowledge, that's just what gets me ticking. So for me, performing as a dancer isn't that interesting to me, but teaching dance, especially to the seniors that I teach, the healing aspect of that is the motivation for me.
Mm-hmm. Do you pick your own music and do all of that?
Oh, yeah.
We're going to talk a lot about
Yeah, we'll
Dance
talk
It
more
Out
about
because Dance It Out is actually a certificated program, right?
It is Dance It Out. So I will be talking about that.
Terrific. But you live here in Westchester, you work here in Westchester. Your children. So you mentioned Robin. Like I said, I remember Robin when he was writing for wrote for the Indian Guides, the Wise Wire or something.
Yeah, my husband's a writer. He used to
Right.
write the smoke signal
The smoke
for the
signal,
Indian
that's what it
Guides,
was.
and he's very creative, and he supports
is.
me in all my endeavors, and we're both creative and silly together.
And he's musical too, isn't he?
He's very musical, and he plays piano, and he's starting his own band. If anybody wants to join Robin's band, he's starting a band.
So he plays, what did you say, what instrument?
He plays piano, and he's a vocalist.
Terrific. Well,
And
you ought to
then,
talk to my buddy Rock. Remember when I had Rock?
He knows Rock,
Bordenau?
yeah.
He was on my show
I
a year and
know.
a half ago, and he plays the
The trombone.
the trombone. Right. Well, hey, maybe they should jam together.
And then also both of my boys are music majors in
Oh,
college.
interesting. So Andrew's graduating, you said, from...
Andrew's graduating from Tulane University
Oh, he's not here.
with a degree in music composition.
Nice.
He's in New Orleans.
He's in New Orleans.
And so he's got his big senior composition recital coming up
Oh, that's
in
exciting.
a week.
That's really exciting. And your other son?
My other son, Devin,
Mm-hmm.
is a music major at University of Miami, Frost School of Music.
Honey, your kids you're not even making dinner for your kids
I'm an
at
empty
night.
nester right now.
Yes, you are.
So that's another
And so
reason
what-
why I dance
There you
for
go.
empty nest syndrome.
Yeah. So what year is Devin in school?
Devin is a freshman.
Oh, wow. This
He's
is
almost made it. Come on, Devin, you got 2 more weeks. You can
he
do
can
it.
do it. And then will he be home for the summer?
He'll be home for 3.5 months.
Nice.
The house will be messy again.
There you go. But it sounds like there's going to be a lot of music going on.
A lot of music always. We have a very noisy house. We have
Yes.
a drum set when you first walk in.
Who plays the drums?
Several electric guitars. I play drums.
You play
my
drums?
husband plays drums. My kids play drums. We all play drums.
I didn't know that.
So my poor neighbors, yeah.
All right. So you play drums, okay, and your kids play drums.
Yeah.
What do you play any other instruments yourself?
I was learning clarinet, but I got
Sure, because that's
too-
really related to the drums.
got really busy. I've always played guitar. So I started out playing guitar.
Oh, okay.
And I kind of inspired Andrew to play guitar. He started out with violin and piano, and then he started playing my guitar, and now he's just amazing musical genius.
Acoustic?
He plays guitar, electric and acoustic. He plays mandolin. He plays the banjo. He plays violin, and he composes.
Wow.
So he's quite the musician.
You walk into your house and you've got like a whole little music thing going on, don't you?
Yes.
Do you hear what's on now?
We have the white stripes on our.
Oh, I love the white
on
stripes.
On our drum set. It says the white stripes because my last name is Weitz.
There you go. Spelled not like the W-H, the W-I.
W-E-I.
Yeah, W-E-I, exactly.
Yes,
Don't-
Marsha Wietecha.
Exactly. Get it right. Right. So Justin Timberlake is going to take us out of this song. Yes, you can snap away, my
love this
friend.
song. It's
I
good.
love this song, too. I'm glad you picked it out. All right, everybody. As you can see, there's a lot of energy in the room right now, and we're going to hear all about Sheri's story. So stay tuned. We will be right back.
Everything goes. Nowhere to hide when I'm getting you close. When we move, well, you already know. So just imagine. Nothing I can see but you when you dance, dance, dance. Feel good creeping up on you, so just dance.
Hi, I'm Dell Lady Jones, and I'm a certified relationship and divorce coach.
And I'm Debbie Carlin Boyle, a certified personal trainer, fitness instructor, and health coach.
Join us on Tuesdays, 2 p.m. Pacific, for Dell and Debbie's Mind, Body, Soul, and everything in between, exclusively on LA Talk Live.
Become part of the conversation with expert guests discussing life-changing topics such as relationships, divorce, longevity, parenting challenges, dating, intimacy, and so much more.
We would love to hear your opinions and questions, either on our Facebook page or by calling us directly at 323-473-3100. We are Del and Debbie's Mind, Body, Soul, and everything in between. Tuesdays, 2 p.m. Pacific on latalklive.com.
You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, R&B, and now live on Facebook, or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. And now on our YouTube channel, Del and Debbie Mind, Body, Soul. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
You know I love that organic cooking. I always ask for more. And they call me Mr. Natural. On down to
Welcome back, everybody. This is called Junk Food Junkie because we're going to be talking about nutrition. But and you know what? And if you wanted to call in because perhaps you were interested in playing along, you know, the phone is listed there, and if I can get you into the phone to the show.
We had a caller, right? But
we
they
had a
tried
caller
3 times.
and well, that's okay. We went to break. So if that caller wants to call back, we'll do our best to get you back on. But right now, let's move forward. We didn't talk a lot about your background in nutrition. So can you tell me about your educational background in nutrition?
Yes. So I've pretty much done everything related to nutrition that you could name. So after I got my degree in nutrition in dietetics from Cal State Northridge, I completed an internship, which is grueling. I mean, I think I studied 6 hours every night in addition to going 40 hours a week to this internship at the VA in La Jolla. So we learned all about medical nutrition therapy, all about disease states. We rounded with the doctors. So I thought about going to medical school at that point.
I bet. You feel like you're halfway there,
yeah,
right?
and the pay was a lot less than a doctor. So I really thought about that. But I've stuck with nutrition, and I'm glad I have. But for a while, I was wavering and considering doing that. So basically, after my internship, I actually went to the Peace Corps.
I didn't know that.
So I was just yearning and had that, you know,
Where did you
quest.
go?
I went to Papua New Guinea.
You know, do you know Deborah Glick that lives in our community? She was on my show last year,
familiar.
and Deborah also was in the Peace Corps and talked about what a life-changing experience that was for her. Did you find it to be the same?
I did, and it was very remote. It was in Papua New Guinea, so like I said, and basically there's 700 languages in Papua New Guinea because the terrain is so intensely geographically untravelable
and isolated,
so you
right?
could be a mile from another culture and you have a completely separate language because you never know that they were there because you can't get to them.
Right.
So it was a fascinating culture, and but it was really, really tough. I was glad to come home. And then I started working at various hospitals. I worked with gestational diabetes at Martin Luther King Hospital, which we used to call Killer King because there's a lot of violence there. Then I worked at with AIDS patients at oh my gosh, I forgot the name of the hospital. They've changed the name. Midway Hospital.
Okay.
I worked at Marina Del Rey Hospital for 11 years. And through all of that, working in hospitals, I've worked with eating disorders too. I do want to mention for 8 years, I guess I'm aging myself here, I worked at the Rader Institute.
Oh, no kidding.
And then I helped start a couple of eating disorder treatment centers. One was Montanito, and one was called the Eating Disorder Center of California, which treats anorexics, bulimics, compulsive overeaters.
That's a really important topic for young and old eating
That
disorders.
was, that was very challenging. We
bet.
did group therapy, food feelings groups, we called them. And I loved it because I love psychology. So it really combined psychology
Certainly.
with nutrition.
Absolutely. And speaking about that, that's a perfect lead in to what I wanted to ask you about, because I know raising children, you have a certain way you cook. And at 11 years old, my daughter announced that she was going to be a vegetarian. And I didn't really want to study what that meant because it was annoying to me that she wanted that, and she continues to be that, and I applaud her for that. But what would you say constitutes a healthy diet? What is a healthy diet?
Well, I have to just finish a little bit about, in terms of my background, it's always been holistic. Love anything holistic.
All right.
But what constitutes a healthy diet is not necessarily a perfect diet. So that is where I try and be a little different than your typical dietitian.
All right.
Or holistic nutritionist, which is, never touch sugar, always eat either a low fat or healthy fat. So what is a healthy diet? A healthy diet has a balance of what I call healthy food and soul food. Soul meaning for the soul.
Of course.
So that means we're not always going to be eating perfectly. My husband laughs at me. He calls me Gwyneth because Gwyneth Paltrow, as you know, is like Miss Perfect with her eating. And I drive him crazy because he has to cook gluten-free for me. And he has to cook no white potatoes anymore and this and that. Organic. So I do eat that way, but then I'll go and have French fries somewhere. So I really stress for people, what is a healthy diet? A healthy diet is mostly healthy choices, but also some soul food thrown in where you get to enjoy your eating and you're not being a perfectionist. And every day, different nutrition information comes out. So it used to drive me to drink because...
Is that healthy? Yes.
Well, yes.
In
a
moderation.
glass of red wine every day is medicine.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And I actually like Jack Daniels. Shh, don't tell anyone.
No, nobody's listening.
No one's listening,
Oh,
right?
swell.
Right.
Oh, God.
But honestly, what was your question?
My question was about the healthy diet.
So,
and
moderation is the key. Moderation and not trying to be perfect, because what happens is it backfires, and then people binge, or they are very erratic with their eating instead of being more gentle with themselves.
there's a photo for those people that are watching, and you can certainly watch the show as well as listen. And it's a picture of a plate, and you called it the healthy plate. Can you tell us about what's on that plate and what constitutes that to be a healthy plate?
Absolutely. So I want to give credit to Michelle Obama for this, because that is one of the things she developed, was this healthy plate eating method. And I have my patients take a picture of that plate and put it as their screensaver on their phone.
Nice.
Because there's not a lot that nutritionists agree on. We don't agree on much. Some people say go paleo. Some people say eat high protein, low fat, sugar-free, raw, vegan, cleanse. But one thing we all agree on is that half of your lunch and dinner should be non-starchy vegetables. That's literally the thing that we
Should be
all non-starchy
starchy.
vegetables. So if you look at that picture, half of your plate is non-starchy vegetables. So what does that mean? Pretty much every vegetable except potatoes or corn.
Is that really? That's basically it.
That's the cheat sheet way.
Okay.
And so if you're doing that, if you're really eating half a plate of those non-starchy vegetables at lunch and dinner, you pretty much have a healthy diet. There's your shortcut right there.
And I bet you would say that eating 3 meals a day is also important.
100%. You stole it right out of my mouth.
Well, because
Mom.
well, honey,
Eat your 3 meals.
exactly. And I don't. So I would. What would I know? Beat me up. But what would you say would give me an example? What did I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, because I know that this has been a very busy day for you. But what's an example of a breakfast? Maybe not today's breakfast. What's an example of what you would eat for breakfast?
So I do have, I was going to give my shake recipe out to people, because I
it.
do this really healthy shake, but that's not all I eat.
Yeah.
Sometimes I cheat and I have a gluten-free cupcake for breakfast every once in a while. But you know what happens when I do that, I just have to say, is I feel horrible. So you get your feedback. When you don't feel good, then it motivates you. So what is my healthy breakfast? It's either my shake, which I'll give out the recipe in the next segment.
All right.
Or I have 2 organic eggs and 1 piece of gluten-free toast, or
Okay.
sometimes a vegetable omelet. That way you get your vegetables in your breakfast with 1 piece of gluten-free toast and either an orange or half a glass of orange juice.
So if you get your vegetables in your breakfast, do you feel as compelled to have it at lunch or at dinner?
Heck yeah.
Okay, because
I'll
you
be
like
sharing that later.
because you like vegetables too.
1, 2, 3. 1 at breakfast, 2 at lunch, 3 at dinner.
Wow. All right. So a non-starchy vegetable is part of that healthy plate. What else is on that plate?
So the quarter of your plate then is your protein.
All right.
So now, not everyone needs to have animal protein at every lunch and dinner. If you're a vegetarian, great, which we're going to talk about. So if you want that to be tofu or just more vegetables, you can do that. But some people feel better and their blood sugar stays more even if they have a quarter of a plate of animal protein. So maybe a little piece of organic chicken leg, or a piece of fish, or it could be some turkey, something like that.
So now we've got a quarter vegetable. Is that right? We got a quarter plate. So that, in my math, that's a half. So what's the other half of the plate?
So carbs, starches.
Oh, that's where the good stuff comes in,
That's
like
where-
pasta and all that good stuff.
Pasta, potatoes.
So the potato, so that carbohydrates is half the plate.
1/4.
Okay, so
Wishful thinking, Marsha.
Well, yeah. So do me the math again. So break down the plate. The plate's in quarters, right?
Well,
Or is it in
actually,
thirds.
one half of the plate. So you could say you're cutting the plate in quarters.
All right.
But 2 quarters equals the non-starchy vegetables, and that's
Okay.
where people go wrong.
Okay.
So we're missing our vegetables.
Half your plate should be vegetables.
And there's so many reasons why. The obvious, lower in calories. The obvious, prevents cancer. But also it helps build a healthy microbiome in your stomach. Microbiome is the good, healthy gut bacteria that promote weight loss, regularity, mood, everything. Our gut bacteria determine our health.
And does it matter how it's prepared?
Well, steaming is your best. Lightly sautéing is good. Boiling is probably the worst. And frozen's fine. Frozen vegetables are convenient and they're very nutritious.
And you can just nuke it and be done? Or do you not
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get into the nuke. There are some people, nuking is a little bit controversial. But
All right.
you could nuke it. You could steam it. Whatever gets you to eat them, obviously eat them.
That's what's important.
And do some raw if you can.
That's good too, right? Because that counts. So you think that because you're in this business, do you think that people are more conscious today about their eating habits than they ever have been before?
I do. I think nutrition is bigger than ever. It's you see more nutritional related ads than ever.
You can go to Costco now,
Yeah.
and you will see that there's signs that are in red. I think are all the signs that are organic. I think are red or blue or something. I mean, they are.
So it's color coded.
It's color coded.
Ooh.
It's color coded.
I'm
now.
afraid of Costco because the carts are really big and I'm really short. So my
Oh, there
husband
you
goes to
have-
Costco.
Well,
so I haven't
but
seen
there's besides Costco now, Trader Joe's is I think is a national chain.
and they have
Whole-
gluten-free guide. You can actually buy.
Right.
No, nutrition is a national obsession, but it's also you've got two opposites. So it's two extremes. You've got people that are overeating more than ever in the history of mankind, where supersize me, right? These huge, colossal portions and huge drinks of the what do you call the ones at the big gulps at 7-Eleven. And then you've got the extreme of people want to eat really strict. So that creates a lot of dichotomy in the brain. So that's why I try and really guide people towards moderation.
And when you talk about gluten, where was I though? Well, I want to talk about nuts in just a moment because I
Why?
know
Because you are?
well, somewhat, but that goes without
I
saying.
am, for sure.
Sometimes you feel like a nut, and
Sometimes you don't.
Sometimes you don't.
All right.
But let's talk about what gluten. What is gluten, and what was your personal experience with this condition of being gluten free?
My poor husband with gluten. He has to cook for me. And I feel sorry for people when they go out to eat with me because I have been off gluten for 10 years. So I was off gluten before it was cool.
All right.
Before people knew about it. And I found out because my feet, I felt like I had elephantitis. I literally couldn't stand on the pillows of fluid in my feet.
Oh, all right.
And I had tons of pain in my belly, and I couldn't even make dinner because my feet and my back hurt. My hair was falling out. I was suffering from being jittery all the time. I couldn't focus. I realize now I was gluten sensitive my whole life, and I
And
was
what is
very
gluten,
much
though?
brain fog. So what is gluten? So gluten is the protein component. Thank you. Of wheat, primarily wheat. So mainly it's wheat, but also it's in rye and barley and non-gluten-free oats because you can buy gluten-free oats now.
Okay.
So wheat is in a lot of things. So just because people say, I don't eat bread. Well, you could not eat any bread and still have a lot of gluten in your diet.
Would
so
it be in,
there's many forms of wheat.
for instance, would it be in pasta?
Absolutely in pasta, unless you're eating gluten-free pasta.
Right.
It's going to be in a lot of sauces and soups and dressings.
Okay. So now we're also very label conscious, right?
Yes.
And Whole Foods and Traders and some of these stores that really cater to that specialty diets.
Yeah.
It's getting easier and easier to find food that meets those needs. Is that right?
Absolutely. It gets easier and it's much easier. When I first was gluten-free, there was nothing to eat. And I remember the first time I went to Whole Foods and they had this huge double freezer with gluten-free baked goods. I'm not joking. I cried.
Yeah, I bet.
Because I was so deprived.
Right.
And I still cry every once in a while. It's really hard when you're really gluten-free because I really get sick if I eat it. And I go out to eat. I have to ask for the manager because most of the waiters and waitresses don't know what's in the food. So it's very awkward to do it. But I have to tell you, I have more energy now than when I was 20.
Isn't that? Wait, do you remember, 20 25, maybe even 30 years ago, when MSG was the buzzword.
Oh, yeah,
and
monosodium glutamate.
And it was always in like Chinese food. And people got very, very sick from that, didn't they? And that's been modified. So when you go out to eat, like you say, you have to speak to the manager perhaps, or are you just are you selective about what you eat when you go out?
I'm selective, but if I really want something and I think there's a possibility that there's no gluten, I'll ask the manager.
Sure.
And I still eat a lot of good foods, and there's a lot of great gluten-free products out there.
Right.
And honestly, healthy eating is mostly vegetables anyway. So, but it's not like I only eat vegetables. I love my gluten-free bread, but I have a varied diet. Anyway, gluten-free for me has been a big energy boost, and my brain is
much happier.
I feel like I was out of it for 20 years.
Is it hereditary? I mean, like, could your children be gluten-free as well?
Yeah. Okay. So my son is gluten-free now. My 22-year-old, and I have to say, Andrew, I did not have to get him to go gluten-free because I wasn't going to nag my sons, and it was his girlfriend. So thank you, Michelle. She said, Andrew, just try it. He was so stuffed up. He had to have sinus surgery, and he's a singer, and he went gluten-free.
So it affects your sinuses too?
Oh, yeah. I had the worst allergies. Thank you for mentioning. I had the worst allergies where I was hoarse for a year. I mean, I was like this for a year.
So it affected your feet in that you were holding fluids. It sounds like it affects your entire body.
Inflammation big time.
Everywhere.
So my son is now off gluten, and he's not stuffed up at all. He sounds so good when he sings. And so good job, Andrew.
Very good. I mentioned Julie about being a vegetarian, and she did that gradually. She stopped the pork and the beef and all of that, and then the chicken. Oh, actually, it was a toss-up because she loved chicken soup and realized, oh, darn, I can't have that. And then I remember she was on a date with her father, and they went out and she had shrimp, and it's like, I can't do that. So she sees herself as a true vegetarian. It kind of annoys her when people say, I'm a vegetarian, but I eat fish. Maybe you could, she would say, oh, then no, you're not. But maybe you could sort of define, in your opinion, what is the definition of a vegetarian? And then maybe you could also define what's the definition of a vegan.
Yes.
Because they're not the same.
And I will say, so currently I'm working as manager of nutrition services at St. Mary Medical Center in Long Beach, in addition to my private practice in dancing. I know, I'm hyper. And that's one of the things always. The patients will say, I'm on a vegetarian diet, but then they want chicken.
Right.
Or I'm on a vegetarian diet, and then they want fish. And our staff gets confused, and patients get confused. So I get this question all the time. So basically, here are the levels of vegetarianism, from the most strict to the least. The least strict vegetarian is a pescatarian. So that's a vegetarian that eats fish.
Okay.
The next level is a lacto-ovo vegetarian. So I'm sorry, the pescatarian also eats dairy and eggs. So the lacto-ovo, no fish, but still has dairy and eggs. Then there's lacto-vegetarian. They have dairy. Then there's vegan. That means no dairy, no eggs, no fish. Obviously, no flesh food, which is known as flesh food, which is the chicken and the beef and the pork and lamb, etc.
And no dairy. So
no dairy either.
So
I
have
vegan.
I have a niece that's a vegan, and it's always interesting at Thanksgiving.
Great for the planet. So thanks,
Exactly.
you vegans.
When we come back, and we're going to take another break, we're listening to "I Love Shape of You" by Ed.
Love this song. One of my new Dance It Out songs that we
that's
danced
terrific.
to.
And perhaps we'll talk about towards the end of the show some of your best weight and wellness tricks for those people. So you want to stay. You don't want to just listen to 20 minutes of the show. You got to stay here for the whole show. More secrets coming through. So go ahead, snap your fingers, honey. There you go. And if that caller wants to call back, we'll be happy to hear from you. Either way, we're moving forward. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to hear a little bit about your personal cancer story because it's quite inspiring, and I want people to understand what you've been through.
Don't worry, no downers coming.
No downers. Because you are a survivor. So stay tuned, everybody. We will be right back.
Now my bed sheets smell like you. Every day discovering something brand new. I'm in love with your body. 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 Every day discovering something brand new. I'm in love with
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Want to enrich in your radio listening? Do it now with the new WDC radio show, LA Talk Live's new talk rock radio show, Saturdays 4 p.m. Pacific, filled with news, talk, sports, entertainment, and more. Tune in as we fill your weekend with rock and funk from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and today. WDC radio show. Listen as we kick off the new generation of radio with talk, rock, and funk. The all-new WDC radio show, Saturdays 4 p.m. Pacific on LA Talk Live.
Hey, everybody. Our caller is back as we're listening to the Night Fever. You're not hot, are you?
No, I don't
Oh,
have a night
perfect.
fever. No night
Perfect.
sweats.
No night sweats. You haven't hit menopause yet. All right. I believe, Richard, we have a caller. Caller, welcome to the show. And who are we speaking with?
It's Sherry's husband, Robin.
I told you it was going to be Robin that called. Hi, Robin.
Hi.
Hey.
Okay, Robin, did you want to add a little something to this mix before we get on to Sherry's breast cancer story and survivor?
I'm enjoying the show so far. I think the topics that have come up have been terrific and relevant, and I'm enjoying it.
Terrific. Well, thanks, because I know that Sheri really appreciates you listening, as do I, Robin. And we're going to move on and keep listening and tell all your friends, okay? Thanks for calling in.
Thanks, honey.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. All
Thanks
right.
for cooking for me.
There you go. Trust me. I know what that's like. I stopped cooking. And that's one of the reasons, honestly, as a side note here, when my husband died, one of the first things that my daughter said to me is, "Oh my God, Mom's going to starve."
You were saying that.
Oh my God. And it's kind of true because, I was very spoiled. He made a really great balanced meal, and
My
I need
husband
to.
is a great cook.
Well,
Thank
that's
you,
great.
honey.
That's great. So I really do want to hear about your from diagnosis to cure story about breast cancer. It's relevant to me and to many of the people that are listening right now. So
Why is it relevant to you?
well, because my mother had breast cancer. Now
Oh.
we're talking many, 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 many years ago when science has not caught up to where science is
Do
today.
you know what kind of breast cancer she had?
Well, it was a stage 4 breast cancer.
Stage 4, when they discovered it.
Yes.
Okay. So I am really sorry. And
Yes.
it's tough. Yeah.
Mhm.
I was a stage 3
Mhm.
diagnosis, which, look, I thought there's no way I'm going to get breast cancer. I nursed both kids for a long time. My second one didn't want to stop, so it was tough to wean him. He had asthma, etc. So I didn't use the deodorant that can cause breast cancer. I was Miss Natural. I was Gwyneth. I exercised. I never thought I would get breast cancer. And I got my mammograms every year. So I got my mammogram. Everything was normal, but there was a little note on the bottom that said, "You have dense breasts. Ask your doctor."
Me too. Me too.
So I figured, well, my doctor didn't say anything, so I'm fine. So 3 or 4 months later, that was September. So in January 30th, I believe it was, I felt a lump. No, in December, I felt a lump. So 2 months later, a lump underneath my armpit. I wish I had Googled that now. I didn't Google lump underneath the armpit. 'Cause
what
if you
year?
Google that,
Yes. Well, what year was this?
this was 2014.
Oh, so fairly recent.
Oh, I'm
then.
just out of this.
Okay.
So
all right.
I didn't know what that meant, but if you Google it now, you'll see lump underneath your armpit. You'll see breast cancer. Sorry, lump underneath the armpit equals breast cancer. So I went to my doctor. He said, "Oh, it's probably just like you probably cut yourself shaving. It's fine." He just completely threw it off.
Call it as a lymph node and wasn't concerned about
so
it.
then I went to my OBGYN, my gynecologist that helped deliver my kids, my obstetrician, and he looked at me and he felt it and he stared at me and he said, "It's not cancer. It's not cancer." He stared me right in the eyes. He took a blood test. He said, "Your blood test was normal. It's not cancer." So that was January 30th. Then fast forward to May, my bra was, I would take my bra off and there would be skin changes. It was swollen. The lump underneath my armpit had gone away. But then I felt a lump in my breast. Finally, I felt a lump. And so at that point, I went to him, and then he said, go to a breast surgeon. And then I went to the pink, what's it
Oh,
called?
Pink Lotus.
Pink Lotus.
That's where I go.
But I ended up not choosing them for my treatment, but she was great. And she said, oh yeah. Well, actually, no, I went to UCLA. I'm sorry. And they did the ultrasound and they said, we see four positive lymph nodes in your armpit and 2 tumors in your breast. So I thought I was going to die. I definitely thought I was going to die that day. It was very
Right.
scary.
I bet it was.
So got into a clinical trial. So that's the amazing lucky thing is the day that I met my oncologist. So shout out to Dr. Hurwitz at UCLA and the whole team. They were amazing. I was the first patient in the world to get targeted chemotherapy for they call it early stage breast cancer. So I was extremely lucky. Then I found out after the trial was over that only 44% of the patients that were on the trial had a complete response. But I was in the 44%, so I had a complete response. There was no trace left when they took all my lymph nodes out here.
Right.
Which is
so
why
you did have your lymph nodes. So
yeah. They took them out as a preventative,
Sure.
and that's a whole other story, but I won't get into that. Some self-doubt with that. But I do have very mild lymphedema. I wear the sleeve. I try and rock it with the fashion sleeves.
Well, it's very cute.
Thank
Goes with
you.
your shirt.
And
How long did your clinical trials last?
So I was getting targeted chemo for over a year. It was really hard.
How often did you go?
Every 3 weeks.
All right. And it was an IV drip, I'm assuming.
IV drip. I was in the chemo lounge chair.
Right.
My niece Diana, who I love dearly, would come with me, and
She was your chemo sabi?
She was my chemo sabi. Diana, listen to this. Anyway, she was a doll, and my husband was my Sven. We called him Sven because he was Nurse Sven. He would empty the drains
Sven
after
and Gwyneth. You guys
Sven and Gwyneth. Sven and Gwyneth. Yeah, Sven and Gwen.
Gwyneth.
He would empty my tubes when I had my surgery and
Sure.
just always wait on me. And I was basically queasy and nauseous for over a year. So it was like an extended pregnancy. But
Now, you were fortunate in that in clinical trials, everybody doesn't get the real deal.
so
Is
there
that
was
correct?
50% chance I would get targeted and 50% chance non.
And when you say targeted, is that what we used to call in the old days the placebo or not the placebo?
No, so it was
What is targeted?
the name of the drug I got was Kadcyla. It's also called TDM1, and the big trial that I was in is called the Christina trial. So my breast tissue is now in Germany, where the trial's based, and basically it's targeted. So because I have because I had past tense HER2 positive breast cancer, they linked the chemo to Herceptin, which is the drug that all women get now. So I have a client who's actually was in the original clinical trial for Herceptin 20-something years ago. That was the
Interesting.
same thing then. That was cutting edge. So the type of breast cancer that I had, people routinely died of. Routinely. It was
No kidding.
basically a death sentence. But because of all the drugs that they've come out with, I'm here today.
And people want to know, well, did you lose your hair?
So that's the thing. I didn't lose my hair. And that's
Okay.
the hard, everyone says that's the hardest part of breast cancer. I didn't lose my hair. I continued to do a little bit of dance aerobics teaching, taught at my son's high school, Hamilton High. I had to quit teaching at the YMCA because of breast cancer. And I basically, but I was hiking. I was still doing a lot because it
Good.
was targeted.
Good.
And because I think all my nutrition and
I was just
and
going to
everything
say,
does
I
help.
bet you that the nutrition played a huge part in that.
And there was a part of me that thought, well, you're a nutritionist. Why would you get this? And people even said to me, well,
Really?
you're a dietitian. Why would you get breast cancer? And
You order it? I mean, come on.
that rubbed me the wrong
I
way.
would be
Trust me.
very offended by that.
I was
frankly.
offended because it can happen to anyone. It happened to
bet.
Paul McCartney's wife, and she was a healthy vegan. It happens to everybody.
And I
mean,
did
to
go
some
to once my radiologist retired, and I went to Pink Lotus, and I talked about what are my chances. I had a very cystic breast. It was a fibrous breast, like my mother.
It's scary.
Well, I got mammograms, I got ultrasounds, I did all the things you're supposed to do. So depending upon your age, those are the things you do. But I can tell you what I did in result in talking about nutrition, because this is just part of my story. In those days, some 30 plus years ago, well over 30 years ago now, well over 30, there was a link to caffeine and breast cancer.
Wow.
That was very, very, there was a connection to that. So what I did is I went off caffeine. When my mother passed away from breast cancer, I swore off caffeine.
Wow.
Well, one of the major food groups of caffeine is chocolate and, sodas and things like that. Well, it was easy to see that I didn't eat chocolate because you could see it. It's easy to, if you still drink diet soda, I'm sorry, you can drink caffeine free. And so literally, I had one I have had one piece of chocolate, and it was a boo-boo. It wasn't supposed to happen. It was a drink that had chocolate in it that I wasn't expecting. That was what I did. That's what I gave up when my mother died. Now, I have tweaked that. I will eat white chocolate because there's no cocoa butter in that. But when I got through menopause, those symptoms of cystic breasts and all of that went away. So that was a benefit that I personally experienced. So it's interesting how we all relate to breast cancer. I don't think there's a family that hasn't been touched by that condition. But you are now cancer free. You are a survivor. How did you
They use the word, I don't want to, I will feel more confident when I'm at my 5-year mark.
Right. But as we stand now, you're doing very, very well.
Yeah, they didn't find anything when they took all the lymph nodes out, so I was very grateful.
How did it impact your personal and professional life?
Well, it definitely profoundly impacted me, and it made me closer to my family. I want to thank my whole family, my sister Lindy, who's a songwriter, so more musicians in the family. My sister Lori, who's a piano teacher.
There's a lot of music around you.
My sister Lori is a producer. She works with special needs adults.
Nice.
Doing amazing work with them. And both of them were extremely supportive, extremely. And then my niece and my husband and my mom, we all, I never saw my mom cry before. So it
was painful.
It was hard for her. And so that affected me. I've always believed in visualization, but I had these wonderful CDs that my sister got me on guided visualization.
Oh, that's nice.
So I would visualize, the cancer going away with the chemo, and I believe that helped me.
I bet.
And I use visualization now, and it's really powerful.
I think I could use that.
It's powerful.
It's some form of meditation, I'm sure.
It is, and I have gone in and out of meditating. I do have a breathing technique if you want me to share it at some point, which I use for stress. And also just I take more risks now. Definitely. I mean, my friend had taken my Dance It Out class prior to me getting breast cancer, and then she came after and she said, "Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, what happened
Sheri,
to you?
You're different."
Oh my God.
So I'm just more out there. I'm like, life is short. I almost died. Here I am. Hello.
Exactly.
So I'm just more confident and less fearful. And also I had to let go of something, which is trying to be perfect. Because I'm not perfect. I got breast cancer. I am not perfectly healthy. I have faults. I'm hyper. I talk too fast, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, honey,
neurotic.
I can relate to all of that. That's why I like you so much. Let's talk about Dance It Out, because that's really cool. It's a certificated program. So let me hear about this.
Dance It Out has been around for 7 years.
All right.
And which is my lucky number. Woohoo.
Woohoo.
Started by Billy Blanks Jr., the son of Billy Blanks, who started Tybo. So Billy Blanks Jr. is an amazing, soulful, gorgeous man. He's really sweet, and he's so creative. He's a great dancer. And actually, he and his wife started it, Sharon Catherine Blanks. They're now divorced, but they were on Shark Tank. So they got funded through Shark Tank. And now Dance It Out's taught all over the world, Germany, Japan, Europe in general, all over LA, San Diego, you name it. I love it because it combines every type of dance you could think of. And so I call it cardio dance fusion. So it's a great cardio workout, multiple styles of dance from Bollywood to country to hip hop. And you, as a dancer teacher, you can make up your own choreography.
That was what I got.
Or you can borrow. So we can be, so about 40% of my stuff is choreographed by me. But then because I'm really busy, I then borrow.
Neat.
And so it's a great combo.
Where do you teach it?
So I teach at LA Arts Collective.
That's Lisa.
Lisa, I think she
Shout
might
out
be
to Lisa.
listening.
She was also on my show. It's
I
a
love
community.
Lisa. Lisa's
Right.
amazing.
Yes.
We share the same politics. We are creative people, and my kids went to her studio. Devin took tap when he was 3. Anyway, so I teach there on Thursday nights at 7. Come to Dance It Out. It's Dance It Out for boomers, meaning it's not high impact. If you're a woman in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, if you're a man, just come to the class. We do a lot of blends of music. We do line dancing, we do regular dancing, we do hip hop, we do country. Great sweat, great workout. It's my happy pill. So I teach there.
Okay. What do you love most about it?
And I also teach at the Westchester Senior Center, which I'll talk about at the end.
Okay, that's fine. But you can talk about it now.
No, I want to talk about because we're gonna hopefully be
you're
in the
gonna
parade,
have. That's
so I
right.
wanna
We'll talk
mention
about that then. So. What do you find is the benefits of dance personally? Because I think that you feel that that's was a pretty instrumental part in your recovery, correct?
It was. And I tell my dance mentor, whose name is Tor, no joke, my dance mentor, his name is Tor. He is phenomenal. He's got a huge following. I kept taking his dance classes when I was going through treatment, and then he would let me guest teach and teach a song.
Oh, how cool.
And I said to him, I swear dance got me through this, besides my family and everything else. Dancing is my happy pill. If I don't dance or exercise in 3 days, I'm depressed. And there have been studies that have shown that exercise is more potent than antidepressants. And for me, my primary form of exercise is dance. Also, the research with dance is phenomenal. And I was doing a little extra research before I came on today because I suspected you would ask me this.
Yes, indeed.
There was a study that came out regarding Alzheimer's. It is really amazing. And dementia. It said that specifically dancing, social dancing, created a 76% risk of dementia in seniors. So crossword puzzles was the next highest. That was 47%. Dancing was 76% decreased chance of dementia. So the seniors that I teach, honestly, we're preventing dementia and helping balance. So the other benefits, of course, much improved balance. I actually used to fall kind of a lot. It's embarrassing. I would just trip on something and fall. And since teaching dance and dancing more in general, taking other classes, when I trip, I don't fall. So definitely better balance, way better mood. Extremely elevating for the mood. It's the happy pill of all time. Also, Parkinson's. They're doing some research now with Parkinson's. It was just on the news. People with Parkinson's, when they're dancing, they stop shaking. Great for your core. Builds great abs. Weight loss, obviously, camaraderie. So our dance is very social. Another aspect that makes dance unique is that we always have one dance that's part of being together. So whether it's our closing circle, and I have my dancers, each one initiates a stretch that they like, and then we copy their stretch, or we'll do a party line dance. So something where we're together and we're interacting, and it's very social, and you just get the oxytocin going and the serotonin going, and it's awesome.
Do you ever have people come to your class and say, "Oh, I can't dance"?
Most.
And so what do you say to that person?
Almost all my dancers
I bet
are
they
not
say that.
necessarily dancers,
Right.
but they're getting better. It's a really safe environment. That's
There's
why.
no judgment.
Oh my gosh, judgment-free zone. I say you leave your judgment at the door. If you don't know the dance steps, just go side to side and smile. That's all I care about.
Oh, because it is choreographed. So
It's choreographed.
Okay.
But there's a few free dance parts of it.
Sure.
Especially the party line. And then I tell my dancers, you know what? Just go side to side, or just sit in a chair. One of my dancers had an ankle injury. She sat in a chair and did some chair dancing.
I was just going to say, I bet you that people can sit in the chair. You can move in a chair. I move in the car. You say you talk about drumming. My steering wheel is my drum. Isn't that a drum?
It's always been my drum for years,
Oh,
and the dashboard too.
Oh well, yeah. Well, no, I got to have my hands on the wheel. But
Well, one of my hands is on the wheel. Don't worry.
we're talking about dancing. Is this not a perfect song to take us to our next break? Because we both talked about this song and the Dancing Queen. One of my son's friends actually knows the words to this entire song, because that's how he learned to vacuum the house. His mother loved this show, and so Andrew was stuck listening to
my son's
Mama.
name.
Yes, and so Andrew could sing the words to this entire song. It's a so
Andrew and Devin, when you come home, can you please vacuum?
There you
the whole
go
house?
to Dancing Queen.
The Dancing Queen. Thank you.
Well, we're going to take a break. Sheri and I will be right back. Stay tuned, everybody. Hi, this is Marsha Wietecha, inviting you to join me every Monday at 1 p.m. for Born to Talk, where conversation plus connections equal community. Be sure to tune in to Born to Talk with Marsha Wietecha, Mondays at 1 p.m. Pacific, exclusively on latalklive.com. You can also listen live at iTunes Radio R&B, TuneIn Radio, Radio Flag, Live 365, or AHA Radio. This is Reality Radio. handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. We are LA Talk Live, and we are born to talk. We're back. This is Bollywood music, huh? It's
Jai Ho.
Jai Ho. Do you do Bollywood as part of Dance It Out?
Bollywood's my favorite, and most of my dancers say it's their favorite.
Isn't that
So
fun?
I'm going to be getting coin skirts for my dancers.
Oh,
so
that would be really cool.
we can
Well,
make
this is Jai Ho as we come back to our final segment together. And before we get back to talking about those things, I always like to promote the show that I'm going to have on next week. And it's always a variety. This is a variety show. People say, "What do you talk about?"
Are you
And I
Carol
s-
Burnett? It's a
I
variety
am. It's
show.
a variety show. Am I supposed to like pull on my ear now? That just showed my age.
It's so nice we had this time together.
Absolutely. I should. Ooh, that's a song I should make sure I play sometimes. Thank you for that note. But what I wanted everyone to know is that while this is absolutely a talk show and my conversations plus connections equals community, that's true. But what's your story? That's the meat. That's what I want to know, and I always am interested in getting other people's stories. Oftentimes, my guests come via the YMCA, where I worked for all those 10 years, and that's the same thing that will be happening next week. One of our former, I think he's still a member of the YMCA. His name is Denny Lennon, and maybe the Lennon is a familiar name to some of the oldsters from the Lennon sister Lennons. Denny is actually a cousin to the Lennon sisters. It's a huge family. And he is the athletic director at the Archer School for Girls here. He's very much interested in sports, and he's bringing with him a scholar athlete. He's bringing a 10th grade girl named Morgan Dennis, and she's going to be on the show as well, talking about education, talking about softball, and I'm really interested. It's always fun to have young people on the show. They bring a certain level of energy and excitement that I think is just great. So that will be our show for next week. But I thought that we would finish this last segment and talk about a few things that maybe we didn't get to. And one of them was, do you have some tips and tricks for health and wellness?
I do. So one of the tips is about sugar, and I struggle with a sugar issue myself.
All right.
And I remember when I first got diagnosed with breast cancer, a chiropractor said to me, "Don't have one bite of sugar." But I was so queasy during chemo. I did have sugar, and I did have a complete pathologic response, meaning I was cured. So I want to say the sugar thing, it comes with a lot of emotion, and it can have its baggage. But I think it's helpful to know the guidelines. So yes, we're all going to still eat sugar. Most of us, those of us that are not saints, are going to eat sugar, and it's yummy. And life is short. In fact, before I talk about sugar, I want to show something. This.
Sure, go right ahead. Show it. Point it towards me.
Okay. So my friend Lori, who helped make my website,
Turn it all the way around so you can.
Lori Joy Designs.
Okay.
She made this for me because during chemo, my doctor told me gain more weight for the fat transfer that was part of my reconstruction. And so he said to me, eat more ice cream, is what my plastic surgeon said. So Lori Rand said to me, I said to her, but I shouldn't eat the ice cream because it's got sugar in it. So my friend Lori said, Sheri, life is short, then you die. Eat the ice cream. And that's how she talks. She's adorable. So I said, Lori, that's such a good saying. Can you write that down for me? That's so good. So when I had my 53 and cancer-free party, she came and she gave me this as a present. So you can see it says,
life is hard, then you die. Eat the ice cream.
So
It's
yes,
important
eat the
to you.
ice cream.
Yes,
and
indeed.
That's soul food, right? But I think it's important to know how much sugar is too much. So the American Heart Association came out with some guidelines. And I want people to know, people always assume that butter and fat is the biggest risk for heart disease. But sugar is.
Really?
Sugar is the darn culprit of all the problems. And I wish I didn't have that problem because I love it. So here are the guidelines I want people to write down. And that is for men, you want to keep it to no more than 9 teaspoons a day of sugar. For women, you want to keep it to no more than 6 teaspoons a day of sugar. So what does that mean?
Right.
It's 9 times 4. So it's 30, actually it says 36 grams here. So no more than 36 grams a day for men and no more than 25 grams a day for women. but actually 6 times 4 is 24. There's 4 grams of sugar in 1 teaspoon.
Okay. Oh,
So if you're
okay.
putting 1 teaspoon of sugar in your coffee, for instance, then that's 4 grams.
That's easy. That's something measurable, and that's something you
It's
can
measurable.
see.
I encourage people, if you do put sugar in your coffee, use a measuring teaspoon. If you slowly decrease it, you can actually decrease your sugar. So one of my wellness tips is that your taste buds are like dogs. Wait a minute, you say. Your taste buds are like dogs?
How does that work?
It's because you can train a dog and you can train your taste buds.
Got it.
So if you are used to having 1 or 2 teaspoons or 3, or some of my patients have 4 teaspoons of sugar in their coffee, start with the measuring teaspoon of 4. 1 week later, go down to 3.5. 1 week later, go down to 3.
Right.
Slowly decrease it. Eventually, you'll be at maybe 1 teaspoon a day in your coffee, which you can have that in your 6 teaspoons a day.
But what about the hidden sugars? That's the easy sugar.
Well, this includes hidden. So any added sugar, thank you for clarifying, Marsha. Any added sugar counts as that. So fruit does not count. But if you have Prego spaghetti sauce with however many grams of sugar, or
You
if
need to look at that, right?
You have to look at the label. Look at the grams of sugar. If you are having some of these yogurts that they say are so healthy, like Activia, because I do promote probiotics, and people say, oh, can I just eat Activia? Well, Activia either has, I forget how many grams of added sugar, quite a bit, way too much, or it has artificial sweetener. So that leads into one of my other health tips, which is to avoid all artificial sweetener. That includes Splenda, which is also known as sucralose, Equal, which is also known as aspartame, and another one called acesulfame K. So any artificial sweetener, you want to avoid it like the plague, because it will kill the healthy probiotics in your gut. Who knows what else it'll do with you. Now, the ones that are safe are stevia and monk fruit sweetener. Those are safe. So if you like Gatorade, drink something like Vitamin Water Zero, which has stevia.
That's really interesting. All right.
So another tip is my shake recipe, if anybody
Yes,
wants it.
please share it.
So I use a couple scoops of something called SP Complete. Comes from Standard Process. Me and my patients love myself and my patients love it, because that way we're on a little bit of a cleanse every day, because it's detoxifying. It's got Brussels sprout powder.
Okay.
So it
Ooh.
is that anti-cancer cruciferous vegetable component. It's got ground flaxseed in it, and it's got whey protein powder. Whey protein powder is really good. So you could just use a whey protein powder, or you could use a couple scoops of the SP Complete. Then I put in organic mixed greens. The ones I like, because I just grab a handful, are the Trader Joe's Power Greens. They come in a bag, or another one called Organic Girl Super Greens. Then I put in almond milk, almond butter, frozen blueberries, or another type of frozen fruit, but berries are the lowest in sugar. Just a little bit of banana, because it's high in sugar. Maybe chia seeds or whatever else you want. Maybe a little maca, which is a superfood. Blend all that, and my shakes are really delicious. My sons love them. And so that's breakfast, but you will be hungry a couple hours later, so have a quarter cup of nuts after that.
You know, I think this would be a really good time for you to tell people that are listening, although on Facebook all of this will be printed, but why don't you tell people how they can reach you? You have a website,
thank
don't you?
So I have a website, and thank you, Lori, my really good friend Lori, who made the ice cream sign, Lori Rand Designs. She, it was really looking horrible, and I thought, oh my gosh, just a few days ago, I said, we got to get this better for the show. I've been really busy. I haven't had a chance to work on it. So she made it better. So thank you, Lori Rand Designs. But it's, the website is www.movetowellness.net. So
Move to
because
wellness.
I've been moving to wellness my whole life.
Absolutely. And wellness has the S. So move to wellness.
Yeah, so WELLN like Nancy ESS.
Dot-
Move to wellness.net.
net.
Don't go to .com.
Yes.
Move to wellness.net.
Do you ever post your recipe for this?
I haven't, but I can.
But that would be great. I mean, so if somebody didn't get it all, they would be able
can
to
post
find
my
it there.
recipe. I
That
will
would be
do that.
wonderful. And what other? So what's coming? Oh, there's something exciting coming up. Do you want to talk about that before we run out of time?
And there's a link to my dance class. It says join the dance party on my website. You can
Perfect.
come to my dance class if you want to make an appointment. It's on there. I do
Perfect.
Skype sessions for people that live far away.
Terrific.
I have patients all over the world. And then also, we are applying to be in the Westchester Parade.
Yes,
the
you
seniors,
are.
we're really excited. The theme is American Adventure. We're probably
For the
gonna
4th
do-
of July
For the 4th
parade.
of July parade. So I'm not going to give away our secret, but everyone say a little prayer that we're going to be accepted in the parade, because
Oh,
it's
I'm sure
apparently
you
pretty
will.
competitive
We can
now.
walk right down to the chamber office when we're done. They were my very first
Oh,
guests.
okay.
Christina and
Christina
Gwen
Davis, huh?
were my very first guests. 2 years. My anniversary was last week. They were my first guests talking about the 4th of July parade that they put on every year. So I certainly hope that you'll be in it so that we can all come out and watch.
I'm excited,
and congratulate you. And just like that, Sheri, I knew that it would
Oh
be
my
like
gosh,
this.
it flew by.
It does fly by, and I'm sure there's probably so much more you wanted to say.
Of course,
but
but-
people can find you on your website.
Yes,
Speaking of-
movetowellness.net.
movetowellness.net. I want to just thank all of you for listening every single week and supporting me. I choose Beautiful Day because it means a lot to me to wish all of my guests a beautiful day. I so enjoy doing this every week with all of you. I appreciate your support. And as I say at the end of all of my shows, let your smile take you somewhere else. Smile. Recognize that sometimes people are struggling, and perhaps just that smile. Or maybe I saw people today picking up paper while they were taking their walk. Do something to make a difference. And I'll see you next week on the Born to Talk radio show. Thanks so much for listening, everybody.
Thanks, Marsha.
Thank you, Sheri.
You've got no destination in the mind. In the maze of her imagination, your love this time. Even if that doesn't ring true, you've been all over, and it's been all over you. It's a beautiful day. Don't let it get away. It's a beautiful day. Touch me.
Thank you for tuning into LA Talk Live and the Talk Live Broadcast Network, original reality radio, and crafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk. Stay tuned.